Alright, so as some of you might be aware, there's been a new recent version of ReelSteady that has been released. And that is exciting for a number of different reasons. The first of all is that the current version of ReelSteady is like slow, it's hard to use, it is very tightly integrated with Adobe After Effects and just kind of has had some, like, for example, you have to have like After Effects 2014 installed and stuff like that. That gets really confusing and frustrating, and sometimes it just doesn't work. So the fact that they've put out a new version of the software is really exciting, and that version is called ReelSteady Go. Now, ReelSteady Go is essentially a standalone application. You don't have to have any other software installed, and it's optimized to work with GoPros. So I think actually, in fact, it's exclusively for GoPro, and because it actually looks into the files that are saved alongside of your like image files and takes the gyro data and combines it with the video. So what you get is this really, really powerful, smooth, just amazing footage as a result of it, but there's a bunch of different things that you need to know in order to use it. The first is that because it uses gyro data, you need to have clean, good gyro information coming back into the camera. And one of the things that they mention in the email that you get with the thing is that it is best used with the Hero 6 Black. Trying to find that email for you. So if you scroll down into here, there's a whole bunch of different information about drone vibration problems and solutions. So if you're flying a Hero 5 or 7, you need to use very soft vibration dampeners to stop any high-frequency vibrations from reaching your camera. Hero 6 doesn't have this issue and will work fine with any mount. The video below shows the problem in action. So you can watch this what's going on and see how crazy it looks. And but so there's different issues that are happening as a result of that, and really all you have to do is make these really nice soft-mounted mounts that you can do with, you know, like zip ties or with some specialized TPU printed things. That's a little bit annoying, but here's the thing that I want to mention about ReelSteady is that ReelSteady it's a tool. It's something that is designed to be used for a very specific purpose. You're not going out to take a video of, you know, just whatever you're doing, your normal freestyle, and then ReelSteadying it. Instead, you're taking ReelSteady and you're using and you're planning your shot and you're thinking about how you want to make a video, you know, and so instead of thinking like something like ReelSteady can be used on top of your existing footage, no, that's not true. What you need to do is go out and shoot with the intent of ReelSteadying something, and you're going to fly a little bit differently, you're going to use things a little bit differently, and you're gonna mount things a little bit differently. So I've seen a lot of people online already kind of complaining that, like, you know, it's really expensive and it doesn't work all the time and blah 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 blah. Well, no, it works every time, but you have to follow the process, and you have to kind of integrate it into your process the way that, you know, is intended, without going around and just expecting it to do things that it isn't. So I figured I would open up ReelSteady Go here and show you how it works. Really, it's as simple as this little standalone application, nothing complicated to it. You go and you click load video, and right here, this is a clip that I have of, it's shot in 2.7K at 60 frames per second in 4:3 on the GoPro. So again, I went out with the intention of shooting for ReelSteady. I used the proper settings, I used a higher frame rate, I didn't stop down the footage, meaning like put a filter over it, and I made sure that it was ready to be used with ReelSteady. So if I click this, it imports the file, says it's running the numbers, it creates a length, it creates handles so you can grab and drag and drop the length of the clip, and it's going to automatically add a couple of these keyframes. So if we just wait a few moments, and on my computer it usually is pretty quick, even on my older laptop, on my older MacBook Pro, it's been pretty quick as well. I say that now, and it's going to take a while. What it's going to do is it's going to automatically take these keyframes and insert it in places in the video where it thinks it can do a good job of stabilizing. Now, in the short experience that I've had with it, I have found that it hasn't always been the best points. So typically when I get in here, I just go in and really what you want to see is the parallaxing shots. So like where there's like a background, there's like a horizon off in the distance where it can kind of see where it needs to be stabilized against what's there. So like if it picks a spot that's like during a crash or a really hard maneuver or something, you don't want to use that. You want to pick the spots that are most like that are most ideal in terms of like what the horizon looks like. So I'll just click into this video, I'll watch some clips. So like right here, that's pretty good. You know, I'm flying pretty straight and level. There's not a lot going on in the frame. It's not like I'm flipping out or anything like that. And I can use that spot to build that, you know, what I want it to see as good smooth footage. So we'll scroll through here. I'll find a second point here. So like that crash would not have been an ideal spot. So again, right here, this is pretty smooth and level, so I'm going to pick this as another gyro video sync point. And you'll see it is now pretty well stabilized. So as we're watching it back here, playback looks really good, everything's nice and smooth and cinematic-y and wonderful. And it plays at 30 frames per second, so even though this was shot at 60 FPS, like it's just playing back at 30. So now one of the things that we can do is go into the advanced settings, and this has two big main options, smoothness and cropping speed. So one of the things that I usually do, what I like, is to have the smoothness be a little bit lower, meaning it's like when you change the smoothness, you're changing the amount that it crops. And typically with drone footage, having a wider shot adds to the smoothness, the perspective of smoothness, and it keeps more information on the screen for the user. And I think that as people that watch drone footage, we like to see that just a little bit wider, just in general. So typically I'll turn down the cropping speed a little, or turn down the smoothing a little bit, but then I'll slow the cropping speed as well. And so what that kind of tends to do on average is, you know, it's going to crop it a little bit less, and then the movements that it makes within that crop are a little bit less dramatic. Keeping it at normal usually looks really good as well, but I know that in this video I'm taking a lot of big like 180-degree turns and stuff like that. I know that this is going to look better with these settings. Other options that you have in here are lock horizon, so it does a pretty good job of keeping everything level. It does a lot more cropping when you do that. So again, that's another one of those situations where you really want to consider your flight before you do anything. You want to make sure that you're flying mostly on yaw rather than on any rolling or pitching, although pitching will be fine. And then you can set time-lapse mode, which I believe adds a little bit of motion blur. It helps you create hyperlapse motions, like where you're just kind of walking and pointing the camera in, and it just kind of that sort of thing. And then there's an option to flip gyro data. So if you run your GoPro like upside down, for example, you can flip everything over and use it like that. So if I click in here and I click recomputing smoothness, it'll think for a moment, and then it will start the playback again, now using those different settings that I had for cropping speed and how smooth the footage is going to look. Any moment now. So you're probably not going to see too much of a difference from what I showed before until now, but in general it's going to show me a wider frame and it's going to crop at a slower rate of speed. And I really like the look of that. I think it looks really good. Here's a crash, I remember, but if we'll go back here, you can see that. I guess I'll just show you the opposite. So like let's put smoothness high and leave cropping speed normal, and what we're going to see is that or we'll just do the opposite. Let's put smoothness high, put cropping speed fast, and what we're going to see is that there's going to be a little bit narrow field of view, and then it's going to kind of whoop 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 a lot to kind of keep the frame as smooth as possible. And you know, it's a look for sure. Like it doesn't look bad, but it also, you know, takes away information. It makes it a little bit harder to look at, I think. Now that being said, there's a time and a place for everything, but in general, my impression is that this looks the best. Or sorry, that the slower cropping speed looks the best. So you can see that this is a much tighter perspective. It still looks really good. It's really smooth, but again, like, you know, there's a little bit less information. It's really working hard to keep everything cropped in. But yeah, it's still just as smooth, just as good to look at. That's not a good spot in the video to show that off, though. Like, here we go. See, you know, like I kind of lose it at the bottom of the frame here because on the wider frame it's still in shot, but in this tighter frame it's a little bit harder to see. You know, I think a good place to use this would be if you're flying very, very straight, like if you're just chasing like a plane or something that's not like really changing directions and pitches and stuff. So like we'll stop right here. This is where we were. I'm going to reverse these two and show you like kind of the way that I would think about it, and it's going to look totally different. Do 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 do. I'm gonna get demonetized for singing the Jeopardy theme song. That'd be really funny, actually. And again, I'm showing you this in real time so you can see really how like genuinely quick this is relative to how things have been in the past. So like you remember the frame that we were looking at before, and now this is what we're seeing here. It's much different perspective, and I think better for drone racing footage in general. But it still looks solid, you know. But yeah, so when you're done picking your things, like, you know, you can use these handles at the beginning and the end. Like, so maybe I don't want, you know, the clip of me like setting up to fly, and then here at the end when I've landed, you know, I can come in and trim that off so I'm not bothering to render that. Hit save. Output video will not contain audio because trim handles are set, and then it's going to go through the rendering process. It literally just plays it back. So for this 3-minute clip, you know, it'll probably take 20 minutes to render, but that's incredibly fast compared to how it used to be. So yeah, that's ReelSteady. So I just want to kind of conclude on a couple of ideas that I wanted to share with you. Is, again, first, you know, ReelSteady is not a tool to apply to your existing footage. It's something that you have to shoot for. You have to make intentional decisions to shoot for ReelSteady. I want to say that ReelSteady Go is an amazing application. Like, it has done some awesome stuff for me in the last couple of weeks since I've been a beta tester, and I strongly believe in it. I believe in the mission of the people that have put it together, Robert McIntosh and the ReelSteady crew. Like, it's absolutely incredible. But, you know, again, be aware of what you're purchasing and what you're getting into when you decide to go for something like ReelSteady, just because I think that people's expectations are not totally aligning with the results that they're getting. And if we reset and we think and we plan, things will be very different. So, you know, again, this is not a tool for everybody. It's not a look for everybody. And it definitely has some competition out there, like Hypersmooth and, you know, different Hero 7 stabilizers and gimbals and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, this right here is absolutely incredible for what it is, and you just have to have that plan in place for what you're going to do when you're going to shoot for ReelSteady. So thank you very much for checking this video out. The clip actually that we're looking at here, I've already put a video out that has ReelSteady applied to it. If you want to check that out, I'll link that in the description below. And if you have any questions or comments, concerns, frustrations about ReelSteady, I'd love to have a discussion started in the comments below. And in the meantime, like, subscribe, hit that bell icon, and stay flying.